Hello everyone. Welcome to the podcast where we will unravel how business and technology are meeting together to create a world we would be stepping into. Today, we are diving deep into the topic of generative AI, but not from the lens of theory or buzzword. We are joined by someone who has built and scaled these global AI infrastructures in real-world enterprise platforms. I welcome Mr. Karthikeyan Girijanandan, a global head of technology and architecture for generative AI product at SMD. With 20 years of experience, he has led massive digital and AI transformation across North America, APAC, and Europe. He has helped Fortune 500 companies to shift from legacy system to microservices. He has also built responsible AI frameworks that don't just tick boxes but help to strategize. All right, Karthikeyan, that was quite a journey. But I'm sure behind all these impacts, there are many learnings, key takeaways that you have got. So to start on a lighter note, I would like to ask my first question to you. Across all the global Gen AI rollouts you have led, what is one moment that has made you either laugh, scratch your head, or challenged your ongoing assumption?
Ideally, it's not a piece of cakewalk on any of the implementations that we would do, because every client has their own specificity and their own challenges, and there is a complexity involved, right? So obviously there are certain scenarios that where we laughed at it, where it challenged my assumptions a lot. But I would like to highlight two events in that case which strikes the chord always for me. One is we built a agentic AI platform completely. It's called as AVA. It's a cloud native built platform. The platform itself runs on the cloud. So when we go to the clients, we always think about, right, like AI and Gen AI, they want to modernize things. So we use this platform to modernize it. But the funniest part happened in one of the banking client is, they said, yes, I want to modernize my application, but I cannot run your platform in the cloud. It need to run in the old non-premise, right, like the on-premise data centers, right? Interestingly, that's also not a big challenge. We said like, okay, we'll try to do it. But the platform which runs on the newer cloud native containers and all those things is not supported by the servers that they are running in the data centers. But they want to modernize that application is what the challenge is. So it really made me like laugh first, but it challenged my assumptions that it will be like a piece of cakewalk of deploying the platform easily into the client environment and move forward, which was totally out of it. The other one is, this is on the system standpoint, right? The other one is, we went with the platform, we deployed it, we did a small proof of concept. It's good. And they came back and then presented saying like it yielded a X amount of productivity, but they don't want to go with that. So it was surprising to hear saying like, why? If it's a good productivity yield, they should be like using this platform. But it impacts the people, what they have today. They don't want to cut off the people layoffs and things, right? Which is a good people factor of it. So there are certain learnings that I got from this. One is from the system standpoint and the people standpoint, which need to be taken care when any of these transformations happen.
Wow, that was lovely, sir. The blend that you brought about the system and the people orientation. So my next question is, with a lot of buzzwords that we are hearing about generative AI, everyone is racing to adopt it first, and everybody wants to jump into this bandwagon. But what do you think that what companies do commit mistake while jumping on this bandwagon? How can they avoid these mistakes?
Yeah. So the especially with AI and Gen AI, it's a 50-50. There is a curiosity factor, but there is a fear factor too. So, but what happens in the reality is the curiosity takes the precedence and people jumps onto it, and since it is driven from the top down, the respective divisions within the enterprises, they start to build their own specific AI solutions. Eventually, we will end up in the same problem what we have today with data. Everybody started building data silos, and then the information asymmetry, we call it as an information asymmetry. It doesn't flows from the start to end in a seamless fashion. The same problem will happen to AI and Gen AI in the future, if enterprise doesn't think about in an enterprise scale. Rather, if they thought about those things in silos, this is what it happens. This is a very big problem that I could see from a technology standpoint. But the one another very important thing is the change management from the people standpoint. Any transformation involves three things, right? The people, the process changes, and the technology changes. Technology is the easiest one. changing the mindset of the people is very important, which now with the trainings alone is not sufficient, is what I want. They need to have a different thought process on how we can bring in people to get convicted and believe what they are doing in. Otherwise, the adoption is not going to be success.
Great, sir. I loved how you infused the importance of people skill and soft skill. So, a lot of MBA students hear about monolith to microservice transition. But I want to know from you, how does this shift look actually on the ground? Especially when you're dealing with real business situations, you're dealing with great leaders. How do you do that thing?
First of all, the monolith to microservices is not a transition, it's a transformation in the ground. So that's the first thing to understand, right? Like, so because people need to see from the technology standpoint as well as the business standpoint. So how does it really visualized by the business people is, the business people needs a CAS, and the IT people needs RAS. I'll explain what it is. So the business definitely needs a cost optimization, the agility to beat the competitive advantage, and the speed for providing a better experience, the faster time to market. That's why CAS becomes very important for the business when it comes to the transformation to microservices. When it comes to IT, they have RAS, which means the resiliency, how quickly I can bring in the system with if it goes down, the availability, how I can make all my services always available. The third one is scalability, how I can scale the services independently rather than a one big monolith application. So it's both the ways, like from business and IT, the CAS and the RAS is very important.
Lovely. That was a great insight. My next question to you is, you often work directly with C-suite leaders. How do you make complex AI ideas click for them? They might not be that technical. So how do you convince them? And they are in the position also to take strategic calls. To convince them, it is an important thing. How do you manage such critical situations?
Yeah, typically we don't sell ideas, right? Like, so I'm not going to sell it to an investor. Rather, it's going to be an enterprise C-suite person, right? Like, so where first I need to understand their problem statement and how I can bring in, even if it's an AI idea, how do I sell it to a CEO if I talk to him? For the CEO, the primary thing is how I can get my product faster to the market so that I can get more customers. So the faster is the key point here. So when I sell the AI ideas to the CEO, my positioning will be on how speed that I can get into the market. Whereas the same solution, when I talk to a CIO or a CTO, it's like, how can I make my systems better, right? Like, or autonomous, so that I can provide better business values to the business and to our customers, right? So my positioning for the CIO or CTO, it will be like how to make the systems better. Whereas when I come and talk to a CFO, for them, the cost is the key thing, right? So how can I make it cheaper when I do all these things? When I bring in AI ideas to them, how it literally makes the problem cheaper, right? So it's faster, cheaper, and better are the core things, but it is different positioning to the different C-suites.
I love it how you are nudging me to think and put on my different thinking hats, and that has really changed my perspective. The next question is something off track. Let us talk ethics for a second. How do you make sure that responsible AI is not just a checkbox, but it also influences how teams build it and deploy it as a solution?
Going back, right, like, I think it's not just with AI. So you might have heard of something called secure coding practices. Even in the normal application, we used to do that, right? See, we used to enforce, but with the AI, people still think that there are a lot of black box within it. There is no transparency available. So how can I bring in this kind of guardrails enforced, right? Like, it will be through AI itself. So there will be an AI guardrail for an AI itself. It's like, how does your Bumblebee works with the Optimus rules and regulations, right? So that's what you need to put it. But that's not enough. But what we teach people here is, in spite of the Bumblebee and Optimus being there there is a Charlie and Memo who is actually going to drive the Autobot, right? So there is a human in the loop who should bring in the right ethics and values, because there is no one single borderline for ethics, right? It changes. So what it changes across the country, across the culture, across the company, across the application, across the customers. So how do we bring in that is all decides based on that particular people who is actually going to enforce those things.
Lovely. You lead global teams across different time zones in tech culture, and you were mentioning this also. How do you keep everyone aligned, not just on the task, but on the greater vision, on the long-term vision that you see?
Vision is percolated from top down, but how do you actually make them believe in that vision is very important, right? So when does one trust that this vision will succeed? So nobody want to fail, right? So obviously this vision, if it gets translated to missions and they are going to perform those missions, nobody want to fail in that missions. So the vision need to be like very clearly articulated and be very transparent on what we are trying to achieve. And the mission statements out of that visions will be like very much goal oriented, and then provided it to appropriate people across different regions, culture, right, time zones. Yes, there are different things, right? Like who does what, and where do we have strengths across these things. It's not like that one particular region is meant for this, but we know where the talent is there, and then like how we can actually operate it in a better way, right? So percolating this vision with the transparency and clear-cut mission statements is the important thing that we need to do, so that people will get automatically aligned to it.
Okay. So that brings me to my last question. If you were to hire a future Gen AI leader from a top B school, say XLRI Xclusive, what skills or mindset would matter to you more? What is your priority?
In the current scenario, AI literacy is mandatory. I think we have spoken enough about AI literacy and things, right? But what is the important skill set that I will be looking for, or from our organization standpoint, is the adaptability, because the technology is evolving so fast and changing so fast, right? Like, so people need to actually adapt to that particular technology in a faster way. So if they are so rigid, it's going to be tough. So they need to be adaptable in an agility fashion, right? Like that's the first point I always look for. The second one I look for is always the emotion comes first with the data. Now we have enough amount of data, and there are data driven decision makings that happening, but on top of it, emotions play a very key role. So the way of communication and storytelling is very important from a consultants, and that's what we look from the B schools like XLRI, right? Like, and the top B school students, right? Like, so apart from that, the core technology things is like available everywhere, but coming up with that kind of adaptability and a good articulation skill sets is very important.
All right, Karthikeyan. That has been a great chat. Insightful, fun, and full of takeaways. Thank you for breaking down the nuances of Gen AI with such precision and clarity. It has been a pleasure having you on the podcast, and I'm sure everyone who listens to our conversation will walk away a little smarter. So thank you so much for giving us your time, and we were fortunate enough to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.